Hey everyone, so today I wanted to do a video that might be a little bit all over the place. I kind of just want to talk. I'm in one of those moods where I just need to kind of talk, and as crazy as it is, I've done this at many different points in my life, and I find so much enjoyment and kind of comfort in going back to my older videos where I'm having maybe the same sort of issue, or I'm just having a hard time kind of processing or digesting my thoughts or my feelings or my situation or whatever it may be at the time. And I go back and I look at it and I can exactly pinpoint what I was feeling, why I was feeling. I can then also kind of apply what ended up happening to the scenario and how I ended up ultimately being better off from it, or learning from it, or growing from it, or just kind of understanding it a little bit later. So hopefully that makes sense, and hopefully you can take this as just me being one of your friends. I mean, this is something I would discuss with one of my best girlfriends, so I feel like why not discuss it with you guys? Open up the comments for discussion. I love to hear different people's opinions and point of views because, let's face it, we're all different, but I feel like in the same regard, we all have had similar scenarios. Two different things I kind of want to talk about. Number one is a funny conversation that I had with a guy. And this was a little while ago, and to protect him, I'm not going to use his identity or anything like that. Whenever I talk about people in my videos, it's never to call them out, or it's never to embarrass them or punish them in any way. All it is I am someone who I take so much from people. I take so much understanding from someone's actions and from someone's just being. I love to find a reason in the way that people are the way they are, and the way that they operate, and the things that they do. And I'm learning as I'm growing older, you can't always make sense of that, because sometimes people do stupid things, people do hurtful things, people do terrible things, and there is no explanation to it or reason or rhyme to it. Just the way that I'm wired, I always like to learn from people and about people, and I always think, well, maybe if I share what I've gone through or dealt with, maybe someone else can find comfort in that. And I definitely have had you guys say you identify with things that I say, or you agree, or you've been through the same thing or whatever. So at least you guys get what I'm saying. But just in case any of these people ever watch these videos, the intent is not to just be a bitch and call you out. Not the intent at all. I just think a lot of the stuff that I learn from people is really valuable information and interesting stuff. And if you've ever been in a scenario with a guy and it was recent, within the past few years, I'm sure you've had this discussion. And maybe you haven't. And if you haven't, good for you, but everyone's different. And I think that everyone can agree that social media, and Instagram in particular, plays a very interesting part in relationships nowadays, with a few different factors. Number one, it's seemingly harmless. I mean, it's just pictures on the internet. People say, oh, who cares? It's social media. It's not real life. I don't know these people, blah, blah, blah. But in the same regard, you are able to kind of experience and be exposed to different people from around the world, or around your city, or around your state, or wherever, that maybe you wouldn't even know existed before that, if that makes sense. So I think that in a lot of people's minds, having someone follow you on Instagram and like a bunch of your pictures, it is, seemingly meaningless, but at the same time, there are certain things that, are supposed to be little flirty hints, and that maybe could have more meaning if you allow them to. And also, I think it gives you a false sense of options, of just, hey, now I'm seeing there are hundreds of beautiful, attractive girls that are only one like away. That's all I have to do to catch their attention or catch their eye. So with that little preface to the story, hopefully you kind of get where this is coming from. So I had a conversation with this guy. He says, I'm so confused, but just because I follow someone, ... means nothing. And so then my answer to him was, can I follow your friend on Instagram? Now, to explain this part a little bit further, this guy had a tendency of following girls that I knew and girls that I was friends with on Instagram from me. Now, these are not girls he has ever gone out with me and met. you know, it's not an actual person he knows. It was more of he would go through my pictures and find girls that I have photos with that are my friends that he then wanted to add. And then what he would do, which was the part that kind of bothered me, was in the middle of the night or when we would be like in an argument or something, he would go through, and I would see this on the feed of Instagram, he would like the most scandalous picture he could find of each girl. So whether it be a picture of her in a swimsuit or, you know, a picture of her in like a really tight dress or whatever, and he would like ones that were really old and all this stuff. And so none of it really added up to, oh, you know, these are my friends, I'm just supporting these people, it means nothing. It always seemed like it was very intentional, if that makes sense. And I understand that this may sound really stupid and crazy, I get that, but I think if you kind of at least understand the picture that I'm painting of this scenario, right? When I then told him, hey, can I follow so-and-so? Now this was a guy that was a friend of his, that was very physically attractive, and was also someone that I was not immediately friends with. So, you know, there wouldn't really be much of a reason for me to be following and interacting with him. He wasn't actually someone that I was really friends with. It was just a friend of this guy. So I asked this, and his answer was, please don't. I'll stop following your friends. So immediately, I guess he knew where I was coming from. I didn't even have to explain myself, but he immediately knew kind of what I meant by that. And I wasn't even meaning it in like a threatening way. I was just really curious what his response and answer would be. And I found it super odd that he didn't want that at all. He said, please don't. You know, he's trying to, you know, plead with me, like, please don't do that. That will upset me. I guess the conversation just made me laugh a bit because earlier in the conversation he goes, it means nothing if I follow them. So then when I say, okay, well, can I follow so-and-so? He goes, no, don't do that. And so I revert back to, but if it means nothing, why can I do that? So I'm sure you guys have all been there, and I just thought it was something interesting that I wanted to share because I've had that line said by guys so many times. Oh, it means nothing if I like this picture of a girl in her bra and underwear. It means nothing if I hit on this girl. It doesn't actually mean I like her, whatever. But I think there's always a bit more truth to things than we'd like to believe. And I, deep down, in my opinion, felt like it does mean something. Like, it does mean something, you know? And fair enough, when I then followed up kind of asking if I could do the same thing, and I didn't ask it in a mean, vindictive, hurtful way, he didn't like that very much. And he didn't want me to do that. And so it just kind of posed an interesting question that while someone will say something doesn't really matter or mean anything, it's very interesting to then look at it in retrospect but it matters when you do it, you know? And I've seen a lot of quotes and like little like comments and stuff saying something to the effect of, people won't like when you treat them the way they treat you, or something to that effect. And I think that's really interesting to examine and look at, and to really think, you know, do we do that? Do we do things that we wouldn't be okay with being done to us? And that's a question that I need to pose to myself, and a question that I pose to you guys, and something I'm definitely going to work on. I'm definitely going to work on doing things and not doing things that would upset me if they were done in return. And of course, I don't think that's going to save you from any hurt or heartbreak or regret, because the sad fact is people don't owe you anything. People don't owe you honesty, they don't owe you loyalty, they don't owe you respect, they don't owe you to treat you how you should be treated or how you treat them. People are just gonna do what they're gonna do, and that's life, you know? But I think just this conversation that we had, while it was so brief and this was such a surface level basic problem, I do think it's something a lot of people deal with, and I think, you know, it's very relevant nowadays because social media is so prevalent and people do put a lot of emphasis on it, I think. So I'm just curious what you guys think of that conversation and what your thoughts on it are, and I would love to read them below in the comments. So I'll see you guys in my next video and hope you guys had a great night. Bye.